is the Talking Sports Podcast, episode 18, and I'm your host, Peter DiBiasi. Today, we are joined by a very great guest, and that is former head coach of the Cleveland Browns and the Oakland Raiders, and former offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, head coach Hue Jackson. Coach, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Before we dive into the interview, guys, make sure you follow our Instagram and our Twitter page. Both of those links will be in the description, as well as we officially partnered with Sports Cases. So if you want a sports phone case, make sure you use our promo code TalkingSportsPD, and you will get 10% off. That will also be the link in the description. Coach, you ready for some questions?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll start off quickly. What was the biggest difference from transitioning from a Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator into becoming NFL head coach with the Cleveland Browns?
Well, the biggest thing is when you're the coordinator, you're just responsible for the offense. And that's all you have to worry about. Find a way to score points, keep the players on offense. When you have a lot of skilled guys or good players, keep them happy. Make sure the staff's working together and find ways to win. And so once you become a head coach, you got to wear all those different hats. Now you're involved in defense and special teams on top of being involved in offense, and then having to deal with the media, having to deal with your executive staff. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different hats that you wear.
And when you become like a head coach, is there one side of the ball that you focus more on? Because I know you're an offensive guy, so you go always towards the offensive side, but do you have to put more effort into the defense side? And when you did that, was it kind of unusual territory for you?
Well, it wasn't unusual because I coached on defense. Came back to Cincinnati. I was the assistant secondary coach and assistant special teams coach. So I had that in my background. So I was very familiar with what I wanted on defense. I think when you're the head coach and you have a specialty or something that you really do well, you want to make sure that side of the ball is doing well. You know, I think that's what people see you as. So I think it's really important that that side of the ball perform well. And so you want the offense to play well, but you know you need the defense to play well and special teams because it's a team game. So I think it's important that you handle all phases, but at the same time, the one that what is your specialty should be what you're really good at.
And how do you take control of the locker room and kind of gain the respect of your players? Because coming as a new head coach, some players that you've never coached before, how do you just take control of the locker room and kind of assert yourself inside that locker room?
I think it's being transparent, being very upfront with the guys, what's expected, how we're going to conduct our business day in and day out. I think you create a learning environment for your players when they walk in the building, that they're there to learn, to grow, get better. And it's the same thing on the practice field where you're really challenging them. You know, you're challenging them in the, in the classroom, but boy, when you get on the field, there's a whole different challenge that awaits them. So you have to make sure they're prepared for that. And I think as long as you're upfront and honest with them and you create the right environment for them, they will respect you for that.
Awesome. Okay, so during your coaching days, this could be even your head coaching days, your assistant coaching days, anytime, was there any player or players that kind of stood out to you that had really impressive stuff, like watching film all the time, work in practice, and all that stuff? Like any players that kind of stood out to you that was really hard workers and put a lot of time into the game?
Chad Johnson and TJ. There hasn't been a quarterback that I coached that did not do that. So I've been around a lot of great players, and the quarterbacks are made to do that because that is their responsibility. But when you watch other guys at other positions do that, the Joe Thomases of the world, the Andrew Whitworths of the world, those guys are doing it because they want to make sure they do everything right. And so I think that's special. But I also believe that's life in the National Football League. If you want to be good at what you do, you have to work at your craft. And part of being able to work at your craft is understanding the mental piece that comes with that.
So you mentioned Chad Johnson. A lot of people know him as Chad Ochocinco. Give me your thought, relationship with him, because from our the media side perspective of him, he was kind of expressive personality. Didn't always get along with everybody. You had a better look at him because you were with him all the time. So how were you? Just tell me a little bit about your relationship with him and how he was.
I want to dispel something right now when you said people didn't always get along with him. That's not true. Everybody got along with Chad. Everybody loved Chad. So I've never remembered a time where people did not get along with him. So he was just the person who wanted to be one of the best. You know, these guys, when they get to the National Football League, they are driven to make sure that they leave an impact. You know, the value is in how they play. And Chad, not only did he play well, but he was also a showman. You know, he knew how to put on a show. And he did it extremely well and at a high level. Him and TJ, I mean, they were special, but they were great workers. They were great in the classroom. They wanted to be the best at what they did. And both of those guys accomplished a lot in the National Football League.
See, I like that perspective because us as fans, and when he was playing, I was much younger because I was born in 2001, so I was much younger, so I always get to watch him. But just like reading stuff on him, I wish we got a little more perspective into like actually who he is as a player and as a person, because sometimes the media, as you know, kind of skews stuff in the wrong way, which is a little unfair towards him.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And you just said it. I think they're human. You know, at the end of the day, they're human just like we all are. They don't put on their pants any different than you do, I do, you know, one leg at a time. I haven't seen a guy that can get in pants with both legs, just jump in. I haven't seen that. So they're just like us. They just happen to have a skill, a God-given skill that they've been able to make money from. And outside of that, they're no different than everybody else.
And when he played as a receiver, you saw him in practice and obviously in games. Did he just look better than just everybody else he was playing against? Like, could you just see the amount of talent he had on the practice field?
Yeah, you could. The thing that was different about those guys, and it's really true of the receivers today, Chad and TJ, they could go all day. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do our plays on offense in our segment, and then they could go run the other plays for the other team to give a look in the other segment. They could just run all day. They prepared that way. The receivers of the day, they can't do that. They normally go 2 or 3 plays and they need a break. You know, I just think it's different. Those guys were brought up. I'm talking about TJ and Chad. They were brought up a lot different in the earlier times in the National Football League. And I think the guys who are great players now, I think they still approach it that way.
Okay. Moving kind of on to towards like, obviously it's different than like in the MLB and the NBA where you play one game a week. Like obviously in the MLB, NBA, you play usually every other day, or in MLB's case, you play back-to-back games. So what goes into your preparation for that Sunday game week? And like, how do you get your guys motivated to play on a Sunday?
Well, they better be motivated, you know, and they get paid, you know, they get paid to bring the best version of them to the stadium every week. And, but it's also my job. It was my job as a head coach to make sure I kept them motivated too. You try to create that environment where you're always getting them to reach for that next rung. You know, how do I continue to get better and do better? And you challenge them that way. And the work week, you know, Monday, you're probably returning from a game or played a game on Sunday. So Monday is a review of that game, so you can put that away. The players are off on Tuesday, which is a huge planning day for coaches for the upcoming game. Wednesdays, the players come in, they're excited to get whatever that new plan is going to be. You work your plan through Friday. Saturday, if you're traveling, you know, you have a meeting, get on a plane, or, you know, go back home and get ready to meet that night before you get ready to play the game the next day. So that's what it is. And guys have to understand how to best use the time when they're not with the coach to continue to grow as a football player.
Okay. So kind of moving on towards your kind of assistant coaching days, you won the assistant, if people don't know, you won the assistant coach of the year in 2015 with the Cincinnati Bengals. And then after that, you kind of became a hot commodity on the head coaching market. So were there any other teams besides the Cleveland Browns that were interested in your duties?
Yeah. New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers. Mm-hmm.
And did you have any like talks with the 49ers and the Giants, or was it just kind of interest?
Oh, no, I did.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but were there any, what were the reasons you chose the Browns over the 49ers and the Giants?
Because I was very familiar with the team, having played them 2 times during the year, being in the AFC North. You know, you see the team up close and personal because you have to study them. You have to know how to prepare to beat them. So they had a better feel for me based on the team that I saw there at the time. And I didn't know really what was in San Francisco. I didn't know really what was in New York. Didn't know that division as well. Didn't know San Francisco's division as well. So it just felt like the right fit for me.
That makes sense. You got to do what's best for you and your family. I know Giants, New York market's tough market, and the 49ers also in LA market, or San Francisco market, California market, which is a tough market. But
Every market's tough in the National Football League. Contrary to what people believe, I mean, there's always a few writers who want to create a narrative or create a story, and they can do that if they want to, however they want to. So I think every city's tough.
that is true. Okay, so we're gonna kind of talk about your former GM John Dorsey. So what was your kind of overall relationship with him? Did you ever butt heads, or just, I know he got fired a little after you did, but what was your overall relationship with him?
Well, I think we had a good relationship prior to him coming there and being there. I want to feel that I was one of the people in his corner that helped him get the job in Cleveland. I think we started off well. I think he went and got players. I think it was no secret that we needed to improve our talent, and I think he did that and did it pretty quickly. And I think John's good at what he does, but at the same time, people get judged differently, as you go through things. And he was judged, in my opinion, unfairly.
And what is your relationship with current Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam? Is there any ill will against him, or are you guys kind of on good, I would say, not good terms, but good terms?
I mean, I'm not going to call him to go to dinner with him, but if I needed something, I think I could reach out and talk to him, But at the same time, I mean, that's the guy that gave me an opportunity at Cleveland, and regardless of what the situation was, I'm thankful and blessed for the opportunity.
Kind of sticking with the Cleveland Browns. So, as a lot of people know, they've had I wouldn't say a bad history of football, but just a struggling history, a lot of coaching turnover, not the best success as they would want. So, when you first got the job and you walked into that locker room and the building, what was like the culture around the Browns when you first arrived?
Well, it was a losing culture. You're 3-13. When I walked in the door, it was a 3-13 team, and they immediately, started to dismantle that team, which was different. And when you look at it, the guys that were in the locker room when we got ready to play the game, they were a bunch of young guys. It was the youngest team in the National Football League, and young, and also not knowing how to win, just don't go right together. That takes time, and so it was tough couple of years.
So how did you approach that with, you just said like the youngest team in the National Football League, you have a ton of young guys. They're looking for like you as to be a leader and your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator to be leaders. So how did you kind of approach that, kind of like trying to take control of the locker room, trying to change what used to be a losing culture into a winning culture?
Well, that's the whole key. You have to have enough players to win. I think a losing culture is brought on by a lot of different things. It could be injuries. It could be a lack of talent. It could be a lack of truly belief that they can win. I think for me, what I wanted to do is instill in there that we were there to win. I don't think you're there to do anything else but try to win. There's no such thing as coaching and not winning. Nowhere in anybody's contract does it say lose. So I think that's what my message was. That's what our staff's message was. And I think that's what the players tried to do. But if you go back and really dig into the team, just didn't have enough. That's just what it was.
And do you have any regrets, like you said, looking back at the team, and you obviously are no longer the coach with the Browns, but do you have any like regrets looking back and you're like, man, if we got this player or this player, and if we added a piece at the cornerback or the running back position, that could have changed the team?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I was coaching the team they have right now, I mean, we wouldn't be on this Zoom call right now. I mean, and talent is important. I had comparable talent to what they have now when I was the coordinator in Cincinnati. Like I said, when you go back and look at the 2016 team, the leading receiver was Terrell Pryor, and I love Terrell, but he's not playing right now. And if you go into the 2017 season, I can't even begin to tell you who was Corey Coleman, and Corey's not playing right now. So it's a talent issue. When you have that much draft capital that is high capital, those assets have to turn into very talented players. And at the time in Cleveland, that's what was happening. We were having very high draft capital, but the players, the ability to make sure that it was the right players, we needed to do better that way.
That you saying Corey Coleman kind of sparked a little bit of something in my head. You guys were on Hard Knocks. So how was Hard Knocks compared to like a different training camp? Because I know, are they kind of like in your face all the time? Is it a lot of interviews with Hard Knocks? Or are they just kind of like, notice them?
They're not in your face all the time. It's not a lot of interviews. It's not as intense as I think people think it is. They do a good job of being away and staying away because you have all this technology that can get close to you with them not standing right there. So they do a good job that way. I mean, to me, those are the things that the fans want to see. They want to see the everyday stuff behind, the doors, what really happens. And so you try to be very fair and honest and give them a little bit here and there, but you also got to be respectful of your players.
So kind of bringing up the Baker Mayfield topic. So he was drafted number 1 overall, and you were the coach at the time when he was drafted. So I know there's a lot of controversy. Who should have went number 1? You look right now, you have Josh Allen, who's playing absolutely awesome for my Buffalo Bills. You have Sam Darnold on the Jets, Baker Mayfield still on the Browns, Lamar Jackson's on the Ravens, and then Josh Rosen's on the practice squad in Tampa Bay. Was Baker Mayfield like your guy, or were you looking at other quarterbacks that you were kind of overpowered by George being the owner?
No, I like Baker. Baker was definitely the right choice. I truly still believe that today. And I think it'll play itself out. I mean, if you look at the teams that are playing well, he's on the team that's playing well right now. They're 3-1. Obviously, Buffalo's undefeated. Lamar Jackson's 3-1. I mean, those players are playing well. And so the only one that's struggling a little bit is Sam, in New York. But at the same time, I think Baker was the right pick. And I think he'll show that as time goes.
Did you have like meetings with all the quarterback candidates that you were looking at, like Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, or Lamar Jackson?
Absolutely.
Was anybody that kind of like, besides Baker Mayfield, because you said he was your guy, so you wanted Baker Mayfield at number 1. Was there any guy that kind of like stood out to you that you're like, hey, this guy has a chance for us to take him at number 1? Do we take him or not?
No, Josh. I mean, I think all those guys you named, I mean, they all had certain characteristics that you say, boy, I'd like to have this guy on my team. But at the same time, you also have to dwindle it down and say, hey, look, this is exactly what we need at this particular point in time in Cleveland. I always tell people have to understand talent doesn't fit everywhere. There's been a lot of other quarterbacks drafted to Cleveland and they couldn't get to winning, for whatever the reason is. And other places, not just Cleveland, but throughout the National Football League, that's the one position that people have been trying to get right since the start of football. And people have struggled in making the right decisions that way sometimes.
And at what point in that offseason, from the end of the regular season to the draft, did you know Baker Mayfield? Because I know on draft night, there were some rumors during that day that Baker Mayfield, you guys were going to take him number 1. At what point in the offseason did you know, like, we're taking Baker at number 1?
Probably the week before the draft. I mean, you have to know that. I mean, that's just part of it. When you spend that much time and look at that much tape and spend the time with the player, you could see the fit.
And what kind of stood out to you as Baker? Because I know he's learned as a leader, and he's really accurate with the ball, but he's undersized for your prototypical normal quarterback, even though that's kind of changing now with some smaller quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, they all come in different shapes and sizes, right? And but the thing that he could do, he could really spin the football. I mean, you just said he's pinpoint accurate. He has a strong enough arm. There's not a throw that he can't make. He's very competitive. He likes to win. I thought he had the right feel and the right mentality to handle the job in Cleveland. Like I said, I don't think everybody could have done that because it was not a good place for quarterbacks. It's where a lot of quarterbacks went to die. So you had to have the right mindset in order to take that on, and I think he has that.
And we're talking about like the current 2020 Cleveland Browns, who have way more talent than when you coached the Browns. You have Odell Beckham Jr., you have Jarvis Landry, you have 2 good running backs, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and you have great defensive players on the other side of the ball. Like, what are your thoughts on this current team? Can this current team win the AFC North this year?
We'll see. I mean, they're in a tough division. Pittsburgh with Ben is going to be a problem. Lamar Jackson's already proved that he's a problem with the Baltimore Ravens, and the young Cincinnati team with a very, very good young quarterback, I think is going to be heard from before the season's out too. So it's a tough division. I think they're trending in the right direction right now, but they still have yet to play Pittsburgh. And I think there's another round against Baltimore and another round against Cincinnati.
As you can tell by my shirt, if you can see it, I'm a Virginia Tech football fan, and I grew up watching Tyrod Taylor. He was one of my favorite players growing up watching, and I know you coached him for a little bit. Can you just give me a little insight on him? How was he as a player and as like a leader and a person?
Unbelievable player, very talented, very athletic. Obviously, can make plays with his arms and his legs. Hard worker, one of the hardest working guys I've ever been around as a quarterback. First in the building, last to leave. Will do anything asked. I'm very disappointed for him over the last two big opportunities he's had. Something's come up. Whether it was he got hurt in Cleveland, and here comes Baker, and now he got his lung punctured at the Chargers, and now here comes the young kid there. So it's just been a tough road, but just me knowing him a little bit, he's going to hang in there, and he's going to work through it, and he'll find a way.
Yeah, that kind of warms my heart because I know me growing up, I watched him, and he was amazing at Virginia Tech, and then he was drafted into the Ravens, never really played behind Joe Flacco, and then went to Buffalo, got us to a playoff game, and then moved them to you guys. And when you acquired Tyrod, what were your mindsets of acquiring Tyrod? Were you like, this guy could be a starter for 16 games, or was he more like, he's going to lead us into Baker Mayfield? Or did you think you could win with Tyrod? Because I think you can win games with Tyrod.
Oh, no, you could win with Tyrod, and I thought he would be the starter for 16 games. I thought it would be tough for Baker to beat him out. Personally, not because of a discrepancy in talent. I thought it was the team was ready for someone to step forward and be the quarterback after what we had been through the previous 2 years. The changing of quarterbacks, not knowing who it was going to be. You need to solidify that so the team know who the quarterback was. So that's why I made Tyrod the starter. I didn't know who the left tackle was going to be, and I thought Tyrod's athleticism would help the team at that time. Joe Thomas retired, and I was right, But at the same time, when he got injured, Baker went in there and played and did good things, and the team hadn't looked back since.
Okay, a couple more questions before we end the interview. So what is one moment in your whole coaching career, this could be when you started at Pacific as a grad assistant, all the way into your head coaching and assistant coaching jobs in the NFL. What was one moment, like your favorite moment coaching that really stood out to you?
My favorite moment coaching was probably a Sunday night game in Denver when I was a coordinator at Oakland. We scored 59 points. And Darren McFadden was the best player on the field, bar none. It wasn't even close. He looked like, felt like, played like a true top pick in the draft. And he went on to have a great season and had a great start to the next season and got injured. But that was a fun night because it seemed like we could do no wrong.
And who was your quarterback at the time with Oakland? Okay. I know Darren McFadden was good in his. I remember watching him at Arkansas. He looked like a future star at the running back. I know injuries kind of derailed his career, which stinks. But like you said, he was great that night.
Oh, no, he was. And I think you said it. I mean, if he doesn't get injured the second year when we were together, he was leading the league with 6.1 yards a carry. I truly believe he would have been the offensive MVP that year.
Really? Okay, final question. I know a lot of people listening might want to hear this. Obviously, right now, you're no longer coaching. Do you have any interest in coming back into coaching?
Oh, absolutely. I plan on coaching next year.
Oh, really?
There's no doubt. I mean, I miss it. It's the one thing that is missing for me is just being on the grass and leading men and doing those things. So, no, I do plan on getting back out there. I really appreciated the time spend with family, friends, and learn different things to do. But at the same time, I'm bored as hell because I want to go do what I do, which is coach football.
I would be bored as hell too if I went from coaching and then obviously you being home for a little while. It's good for your family, your kids, and also they get to see you more. But you want to do what you love to do, and that is to coach.
Absolutely.
And do you anywhere know you want to coach? Have you talked to anybody? Is it in the college level, or are we talking about NFL level?
I just think it's coaching. I can't share all those secrets just yet, but no, I feel good that something good is going to happen, and we'll just kind of go from there.
I understand why you can't share that, but we here at Talking Sports, we really hope that you get a job one day because that would be awesome. And I hope you get back into coaching because you as a head coach was fun to watch, and you as an offensive coordinator with the Bengals, some of those offenses with Andy Dalton, you made Andy Dalton. I know Andy Dalton was a really good quarterback, but he wasn't at the level of some quarterbacks. You made Andy Dalton look really, really good, and it was fun watching. So I'm sorry you're no longer coaching, but hey, we're pulling for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that more than you know.
Thank you so much for coming on. This means the best, means more than anything in the world. We never had anybody like this on our podcast. We've had some football players, some basketball players, but nothing up to the level you are in your career. So thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you, and keep doing what you're doing, and great things are going to happen for you as well.
Thank you so much, sir. Guys, remember, this is the Talking Sports Podcast. This is episode 18, interview with NFL head coach Hue Jackson. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like, drop a comment, follow the Instagram and Twitter. And until next time, thank you.